Good to vach. I wanted to share tonight is the yartzeit of my holy ancestor, the Czenger Rov. It's a kusigin line of close to Moshe ben Rav Eliezer Shpitz, Eliezer HaLevi Shpitz. This is 7 generations back. He was nifter 198 years ago. Now this week's Sedra, Kodesh Baruch Hu is speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu. God is speaking to Moses. He tells him that you're going to be gathered to your people, and he's going to pass away, leave this world, go to the next world, and that's how we learn actually about that we believe in a world to come, because it says to be gathered to his people, and Moses was not buried in the family plot, So, and then it says, like your brother Aaron was gathered in, that's how you're going to be gathered in. He brings that he says that the Indian here that we're speaking about is that Aaron the Kohen, when he left this world, he did so with the full will, willingly. That's the same Indian that Moshe Rabbeinu would also leave this world in such a way that God doesn't want to take a tzaddik out of this world unless he agrees it's time, it's the right way. We see certain times tzaddikim, they leave this world b'misas nefshika, sweet like a kiss, as Moshe Rabbeinu did. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu about it. But Melave Malka, we're supposed to tell stories, so especially tonight, the yartzeit of the Zayda, the Czenger Rov. That's the way he left the world. Kashanes of Hahar Nechiche. Czenger Rov was a big tzaddik. He learned by the Haflah. He was a Talmud of the Maggid, so he had a little bit of Chassidish influence. He was a Talmud of Nosson Adler. Nosson Adler was a Kohen, and the Zayd of the Czenger Rov was a Levi. So for 5 years, the Zayd of the Czenger Rov, he poured the water on the hands of Nosson Adler, who was the Chassid Sheba Kahuna. It's the Chusir Galeno. He learned also by the Noid of Yehuda. He received Torah, the Masar of Torah, from the Gedolei Ador. And then he himself, his father was the Rav in Oiven Yushin, which is part of Budapest. That was the major Jewish community in Budapest. Budapest is actually 3 cities. There's Buda, there's Old Buda, Oiven Yushin, which they call Oiven Yushin or Althofen, and there's Pest. So in Oiven Yushin, Old Buda, that's where there was the oldest Jewish community in Budapest. So his father was a Rav there, and there's a whole miraculous story about how his family, his wife's parents, they were ready to get divorced, and they had a dream of. They had a son, Moshe Shpitz. So Eliezer Shpitz, his son was Moshe. They had big yichus. They went back to the Chavos Yor, Mar Alma Prague. Of course, that goes back to David HaMelech. Tremendous yichus, and he was Adam by Moshe Arya Kruler, the Kruler Rov, Moshe Arya Ostreicher. He was the son of Meyer Leib Ostreicher, Meyer Yehida Ostreicher. He was the first Rav in Kruler. Many years later, of course, Krula became famous. Satmar Rov was the Rov in Krula. The Spinker Rebbe was the Rov in Krula. There was another Krula Rov Gross, big Rabbanim who were Rabbanim in Krula. So, but this we're talking about 200 years ago. It's interesting. The Krula Rov of Moshe Arya Krula, he one time the Kedushas Levi Yitzchak ben Sarasashim and B'ditcha v'sechlusi g'leinim close to Almainans. Of course, in Motzei Shabbos, have to talk about the B'ditcha Rov. So he came to Krula to visit the Zayda, the Krula Rov, and he didn't know what Chasidus was all about. He was afraid. He was Ner L'Chayid, so he's afraid he might get swept up. He heard a lot of Talmidei Chachamim were getting something he didn't know what it was all about. And so out of his Ehrlichkeit, and for me, even though I have a certain Chassidish minhagim and so forth, I find there's a tremendous Ehrlichkeit that the Zayda, the Krula Rov, the story goes, maybe it's exaggerated, that he jumped out the window because he wanted to avoid meeting the B'ditcha Rov, but for sure he tried to avoid him because he was afraid that he'd be like a magnet to draw him into Chassidus, and he didn't know what it was all about. To me it's a real Ehrlichkeit. I'm very impressed by that. It means a lot to me to hear something like that. Where the Rebbetzin, women tend to be more spiritual. The Baba, the Rebbetzin, she said all the children should get the bracha. I'm sure my Baba, the Czenger Rebbetzin, was also one of the children who got the bracha. And her brother, who after the Zayda, the Czenger Rov was nifter, became Rav also in Czenger after him, Rabbi Yonasan ben Yomen. He became a Chassidish Rebbe. He was a big chassid of the B'ditcha Rov. And the B'ditcha Rov, he saw this baby. He said, "Oh, einer von sei geht sein von unserer." He said, "One of these children here is going to be one of ours," meaning he's going to be a Chassidish Yid. And so that was the Czenger Rov after the Zayda. His shvoger, his brother-in-law, Yonasan ben Yomen, he was a B'ditcha chassid. He named his son Levi Yitzchak. The Zayda, the Czenger Rov Moshe Shpitz, he was Rav in Czenger. Czenger is a city near Satmar. He was the Rav for 26 years in Czenger, and yes. Want to say hi?
Hi, Tati.
I gotta machen payas, bald Shloime. Shloime, you're gonna make payas soon?
Yes.
We're gonna cut your hair?
Yes.
You're gonna wear yarmulke and tzitzis?
Yes.
You're gonna learn aleph bayis?
Yes.
You're tzaddik? Are you a tzaddik?
Yes.
Yes. You're gonna be a tzaddik like the Zayda, the Krula Rov, and the Czenger Rov?
Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna learn Torah? So we're learning now about the Zayda, the Czenger Rov. You want to hear a story?
Yes.
Okay. So, the story of how Czenger Rov, we said he was the Rav for 26 years in Czenger, and he learned Mishnayos. He finished Shas Mishnayos every month. He finished Shas Bavli every year. He would learn the whole Gemara Erevin every month. It was a tremendous masmid, a tremendous Talmid Chochem. And the day he was nifter, the Chafei Tammuz, was Mincha time. He said, "I want to daven Mincha early." They said, "What's the epis? Why should daven so early?" He said, "I have my reasons." He wanted to daven the earliest time for Mincha. Just before Mincha, he said, "Ashir in the sugya of Roy v'Karev, the sugya in Shas." about whether what takes precedence. Something is a majority, something's close by. So he said the whole shir, lamdish shir, and the sugya, charifus, very charifus and pilpul. And then they daven mincha. He said they should make eiche kedusha. So he said kedusha, daven mincha. He finished davening mincha. He said all the kehanim should leave. They said why? What's epis? He said all the kehanim should leave. And so the kehanim left, and as soon as the kehanim left, that was. He left this world, just like we said, Kasher Nesa Fahar Nechika. That's the way he left the world, with complete rotzen. That takes a certain level of tzidkis to be zoichet to such a thing. It's interesting. After he was nifter, they found in his mechtovim, they found a whole shir on the whole nichtov on the sugya of Rov Korov, and he said that because of his research in Torah, he hopes that especially that particular sugya, he looks forward to when he leaves this world to be greeted by the Rambam and all the Rishonim because of the work that he put into that. So we learn from there how important it is to learn Torah, Hasmoda, and to become a lamdin. And that's chus. I hope the Kaini Leroy's bonim if they bonim oiskim b'Torah mitzvahs. You're going to be a Talmud Chacham.
Yes.
You're going to learn Torah. So that's chus. We should be zoiche to taka to live up to all these things and live long and productive lives and serving oftin for Yiddishkeit and learn. We should all be zoiche to learn together and to see with Chis HaMeisim and to be reunited with all of these great tzaddikim. Good Tevach.